Hello, hello. This is Yuri with Let's Talk Moving Podcast and Moving Sales Professionals. I have Tom and Christian with Continental Moving in Boston that just launched in April. Part of it is the person that you get on the phone, but the other part of it is how convincing you are. Because sometimes you talk to a person, they seem to like the price, they seem to have a good conversation, they're comfortable with the company, but they're like, okay, let me call you back. This is what I always do, and this is what I tell my salespeople to do in that case. Well, ma'am, if I may ask, you told me that you like the price. We have the date available that you were looking for. You're comfortable with our company. What's stopping you from saying yes to me right now? Is it is it in fact the price? Is it something else? Oh, I'm not sure of the date yet. Okay, well, you're not sure of the date yet, but our pricing is subject to change until you put down a deposit. Your date that you did put out there was November or whatever. Why don't we put that date right now? You still got plenty of time until that date. So if you call me in a week or into 2 weeks, since we still have about a month, if you call me, I can always move it back or push it up if I need to. But at least you know that you have a company selected. You
Mhm.
know that your price is not going to change because you've put down a deposit.
Like for
What do you
this
say?
example, I mean, I had the same example, like gave it the inventory. She said, yeah, like the date, she doesn't know for sure. I offered her like, okay, we're gonna put you on the schedule so that, you'll have the day or like that time frame booked. And then she was gonna follow up with me. And then when she did, she was just like, okay, we went with a different company. Like in this example, like how can you win that customer over or like
Stay on them.
stay on them.
Stay on them. If they're not sure like that, stay on them. You talk to them today, they're not ready yet. You ask them for definition. Okay, well, when do you think you're gonna know? Do you need me to call you day in a day or two, or you need more time? How much time do you need? If somebody tells you call me in 2 weeks, you're not gonna wait 2 weeks to call. You're gonna wait 3, 4 days maybe at the most. If they
Got
tell
it.
you a month, you're not waiting a month. You're calling them maybe a week out, maybe a week and a half. And now for a word from our sponsors. If you're a moving business owner, you may have already heard of Moversville, an email marketing service that helps moving companies increase, repeat, and referral business. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services that cater specifically to the moving industry. You can find companies that provide moving software, moving sales services, marketing services, moving equipment providers, and much, much more. Visit moversville.com today to learn more.
How about estimate? You give price range or you give like what's a better tactic? Give like a low ball and say 300 to 700, something like that. Or
Honestly, I mean, it's a matter of preference, I think. I don't like doing that. The reason I don't like doing that is because customers tend to stick to they'll remember the low number. They won't remember the
yes,
high
yes,
number.
that's why.
So I'd rather, and I tell the customer this too, I'd rather overestimate than underestimate. So I'd rather provide higher quote and then you pay less than the other way around. And I explain it just like that. I said, what would you prefer? For me
Mhm.
to quote you 6 hours and we end up getting it done in five? Or would you prefer for me to quote you 3 hours and we end up in seven?
Yes, yes. Because I have this feeling that we're giving like overestimated price and the other companies give underestimated price and they end up having a higher bill. In our case, we have a
But
lower
those
bill
are the
for the
companies that
customer.
probably end up with worse ratings too and reviews.
I mean, the rating is
So
okay.
it's about how you sell it, and you can say, look, I understand they quoted you 3 hours. If you want, I can quote you 3 hours, but I'm going to put it in the notes that my recommended quote was 5 hours, and that I quoted you 3 hours because you wanted me to quote you 3 hours, not because my professional opinion matched it. My
Because in
professional
general,
opinion, it should be a 5 hour quote. Get
because
it
in
done
general,
faster,
it's the
great.
same time, right? I mean, it based on depends how you calculate based on cubic feet, right? It should be the
Sure.
same time, right?
The cubic feet is there's also a thing with that. So if you're talking about cubic feet, keep in mind you're playing Tetris with furniture, first of all. Second of all, you can't physically account for every piece of furniture that has been ever designed. It's impossible. There's so many of them, right? So how can you really account for everything? What you can say is, okay, you filled out an inventory
Mhm.
according to my system. It looks like it's going to fit in the truck this size. However, as a disclaimer, keep in mind there's 50 million pieces of furniture out there, and I can't account for everything. There's also pieces of furniture that you can't stack on top of because they're fragile or they can't support the additional weight of additional things being put on top of them. So if you have those type of pieces, then your stuff is not your stuff may not fit into that truck because you can't stack things on top of it. It's like when you do office moves, like desks and things like that, that you can only stack it so high.
So what do you
So
you give price for
I
it?
think it's about, I would say if it's something like that, like a cubic foot quote, you have to provide that with a disclaimer that it based on what you told me, it looks like it might fit, but we
Mhm.
can't control A, B, C, D. So we'll do our best to fit it in, but we have to, at the end of the day, we have to not only worry about fitting your items in this truck, but we also have to worry about damage and we have to worry about liability, and we want to make sure that we take care of you. You have to make it about them.
Hi everyone, this is Jasdeep.
Hi, this is Herleen. We are the proud owners of the Calgary franchise of Let's Get Moving.
The main part of the business, which is sales, marketing, and advertising, he was gonna be the one controlling everything on the back end, and all we had to do was take care of the jobs that the sales team was booking for our location.
They'll give you a proper training. Then they have a nice franchisee team. You can call them, you can send them an email, or you can text them. They'll be there to help you.
You definitely need a really good team
Right.
in order for this business to succeed, and we were definitely blessed with amazing operation members, amazing movers, and pretty much even from day one, like we had an amazing team.
Visit letsgetmovingusa.com, changing the moving world one move at a time.
Yeah, so like the time would be technically the same. Like, okay, you're talking about like cubic feet in space, but let's say you load up 100 cubic feet in this amount of time. I mean, it should convert. I mean, obviously, you take into consideration that there are stairs, like elevators, and all that. So
We're talking hourly quotes now, right? Is that what
Yes.
we're talking about? Okay, so if
yeah,
we're talking hourly quotes, in my experience, and I don't remember who told me this originally, but it's been working for me pretty much any time, is basically an hour per 1,000 pounds. If you're quoting it, an hour,
for one mover or for two
no,
movers.
an hour per 1,000 pounds. If you're 2,500 pounds, and we're talking a scenario where there's no stairs, there's no long carry, there's no oversized pieces or turns or anything like that that would add additional time. No packing, right? So assuming in the perfect world that there's no packing involved, there's no stairs involved, there's no elevator, there's no long carry, you take it out, it's 5, 10 feet, 15 feet to the truck, and that's it, right? Let's say, hypothetically speaking. And the same thing on both ends. If that's the case on both ends, so you're roughly about 2,500 to 3,000 pounds is going to be your two guys. 3,000 pounds to 6,000 pounds, let's 6 to 7,000 pounds is going to be three guys. 6,500, 7,000 pounds and up, you're four guys, and then you get to a point where you're going into two trucks, five guys, six guys, whatever. Okay, and then of course, if you have stairs, if you have packing, if you have long carry, if you have elevator, if you have any of that stuff, you're adding time at that point on top of it.
Is there like a formula for that to add? Like, if there's like a staircase, two staircases, like a flight of stairs.
I think a lot of it is just like, frankly, you look at it and you in the back of your mind as a salesperson. I mean, in my case, I have experience, obviously, but you're thinking, okay, how long would it take me? So you gotta it's I think it's case by case scenario because you're also seeing what is it that they have. Can you stick three boxes on a dolly, or is it one of those customers, I'm not gonna that shall remain nameless, that have 70-pound boxes? So it's like you gotta, like, some of it you gotta be case by case. Some of it you can't see until you get there. But one thing keep in mind, like for us specifically, we take inventory every time from every customer that we talk to because inventory is there to protect you. Inventory is there to protect us. So And to me, one of the things that I would put in your contract is that the customer itself, before they sign the contract, they got to take a look at the inventory. And if there's anything major that's missing, they got to tell you. Because to me, if that customer signs the contract, by signing the contract, they're basically telling me that they looked at the estimate, they looked at the inventory is accurate, they agree with things that are listed on the contract, they agree with the contract terms, and that's it. So at that point, once you get to that job, if that customer has 300 more boxes that were not on the inventory, that's not at that point, that's not the salesperson's fault. Because the salesperson put the items in the inventory. Look, we're all human. We could forget things. It happens. We don't want to, but it happens, okay? But the customer should be just as responsible because they're signing that same contract that doesn't have the extra 300 boxes on it. You tell me they didn't know that that the 300 boxes weren't there? It's too many not to notice, right? Or they didn't know that there was a treadmill or a trunk missing. And you don't see those pieces too often, but like a German trunk, you'll hear that once in a while. It's this huge thing that's the size of 3 china cabinets put together, if not more. It's enormous. How do you miss a piece like that? How do you miss a full garage worth of stuff? So you can't put 100% of that on the sales rep. The sales rep is there to take an inventory. The sales rep, I can see if they're very busy, I could see maybe by accident they forget a room. It's not ideal. That's not what you want to happen, but it can happen sometimes. We're all human, right? But the customer is signing the contract. The contract has the inventory. How do they not realize that there's a whole room missing? It can be just it's all our fault, right?
When you do estimate over the phone, people still prefer only over the phone estimate, or they do live video, or they do like picture or something?
Well, we do all of them. We do video, we do over the phone, we do they can send us pictures. I had somebody send me pictures recently. We can do an on-site. Look, on-sites, if you're good with people, you're gonna book those more often than not.
Oh yeah.
Realistically. Especially if it's, I mean, it doesn't make sense to go and do an on-site for a 1 bedroom. No. Does it make sense to do anything for that's 2 bedrooms or less? Probably not. Because you're gonna, especially if you have to, now if it's like, I don't know, 15 minutes from where you are, maybe, if you feel like it really, you know. But if it's an hour away, most people are not gonna go out and do an on-site estimate for a 2 bedroom apartment that's an hour away.
But mostly you do it over the phone.
We do.
So customer just walk the apartment.
Yeah, that's what we ask them to do, and we're digging for information. But you can always set up FaceTime, you can always set up Ring Central, you can always set up a video call. And you ask them to do the same thing. You're asking them to walk out, you're asking them to open up all the cabinets, open up all the drawers, all the closets, everything. You ask them to be slow as they pan across the room, showing you everything that's around them, so you can get everything and see everything that they show you. But sometimes you get people that are interested. Last year, we had a job for a customer. It was one of those escape room places. An estimator came on site. He saw everything. And then on the day of the move, there were like 3 extra rooms that he did not see. Because
that's the whole point.
There was a big cabinet that was blocking an entrance to one of those rooms. And once you got in there, there were like 2 or 3 more rooms behind it.
Oh, wow. All right. So have to be like, as you said, like digging into every single, you want
to be accurate, and at the end of the day, you want to know exactly what if you're going out to do an on-site, you want to know what you're getting yourself into. If you're doing a video online, you want to know as much as you can, and hopefully that's recorded. So if the customer says, "Oh, I showed you everything," you can say, "Well, where is this room? It's not on this video." There's a lot of neat programs out there like that, like Live Switch, for example. Yeah. There's a lot of things that are out there today that you can record. You can ask the people to walk around and record things around them and send you the video too. Then they can't tell you that they showed you something if it's not on that video.
Yeah, that's a safe thing to do, and they recorded it. So
cover your butt. It's the same thing I tell my salespeople. Cover your butt. Get as much information as you can. Cover your butt in case something goes wrong.
Yuri, the other question: do you work with like online leads? If somebody wants to talk over the text message or Facebook Messenger,
why not? It's a
Oh,
lead. It's a lead.
you
It's an opportunity. Why not?
do you want to speak with them, or you okay to just chat with them too? Ideally.
Ideally, I want to speak to every single person.
Yeah, because
Ideally.
you're closer, but you
But
still.
but it's not just that. It's the fact that, look, I can't tell over text message if they're being sneaky or not. If I'm talking to you
Yeah.
on the phone and I asked you a question and you're being evasive with your answer, I can tell, right? You can tell when somebody's not telling you something, right? When you're talking to them. You can't tell that over text message.
What do you mean not telling me? What's the example? What can they hide? Like the whole room, or they don't want to tell
Well,
most
you
of it?
ask them for example, for how heavy a certain item this is, and he's like, "Well, I don't know. I think it's 200 pounds, maybe 100." And in the back, you start hearing, you're like, "Ah, crap, that thing is at least 300 to 400." You know, like things like that. There's you could just tell when you're talking to somebody, when somebody is not trying, it's trying not to tell you the real information. There's you can usually tell. You could usually, like, I even put it in the notes on some of the jobs that I book. Sometimes I can say, this is the inventory the customer gave me, but I have a feeling there's more. Or
Yeah, that's a very good point.
for that matter, anytime you hear a customer say, this is not going, this is not going, this is not going, anytime you hear that, 9 out of 10 times everything ends up going.
Okay, good to know.
Okay. But guys, this has been a pleasure.
Thank
So
you.
I'm going to wrap this up as far as the recording part goes. But as I always say, the world moves on its own. So let the professional move yours for you. Thank you very much for joining for this. And I'm sure we'll talk again and reach out again and see where you guys are down the road once you're got more of this stuff taken care of, social media and everything else.